What's going on, guys? I'm going to counter a Chomsky video that he made. Chomsky said in the video that he believed the U.S. military to be misunderstood, that they weren't freedom fighters. And some people can call the U.S. military heroes. I prefer to use the Stephen Ambrose term, ordinary people that do heroic things. Stephen Ambrose has written extensively about the U.S. soldiers. But either way, I can understand heroes or ordinary people who do heroic things. Either way, it's a compliment. But Chomsky said that the military was used just for the economy, for state-run economy, and also talked about how they just protected the interest of the rich and of the elite and didn't really serve the general population or regular people around the world. I'm going to take issue with that. The state-run economy, okay, there's companies like McDonnell and Lockheed that always compete for government contracts for military airplanes. This is common knowledge you see in the newspapers. There may be some credibility to that, okay? And there probably is credibility. But to say they only protect the elite and the rich, they don't serve the regular people or the general public, or they don't protect innocent people, which is what he kind of implied in that video. That's just not right. And I'm going to read an example from Stephen Ambrose's book, Citizen Soldiers, about the humanity that the American soldiers showed during World War II. Okay? These were by German soldiers who fought in Normandy against the United States. Okay? I got to look at the page 33 of Citizen Soldiers to read this passage to you. Okay. It said, even veterans of the Eastern Front, Eastern Front means fighting against Russia, when Germany fought against Russia, against the Soviet Union in World War II. Corporal Friedrich Bertenrath of the 2nd Panzer Division explained, this was a corporal, German corporal, he said, in Russia, I could imagine nothing but fighting to the last man. We knew that going into a prison camp in Russia meant you were dead. In Normandy, one always had in the back of his mind, well, if everything goes to hell, the Americans are human enough that the prospect of becoming their prisoner was attractive to some extent. Meaning they could tolerate becoming prisoners to the Americans, but not to the Soviets, not to the Russians. So I'm going to read that again for clarity. In Russia, I could imagine nothing but fighting to the last man. We knew that going into a prison camp in Russia meant you were dead. In Normandy, one always had in the back of his mind, well, if everything goes to hell, the Americans are human enough that the prospect of becoming their prisoner was attractive to some extent. Also, there was some rockets that Germany used against London's civilian population, the V-1 rockets. American bombers tried to destroy those rockets, but the rockets were extremely small targets. They were small rockets that delivered heavy damage, and I'm going to talk about that. I had to turn the page right there. So my bad for the bad camera work. Okay. The V1, this is page 56, okay, of Citizen Soldiers. The V1, used for the first time a few days after D-Day, the radio-controlled V1 pilotless aircraft were coming down by the hundreds on London. They were a haphazard terror weapon of little military value, except put an enormous new strain on the British public. In June and July, the V-1s killed more than 5,000 people, injured 35,000 more, and destroyed more than 30,000 buildings. Worse, Allied intelligence anticipated Germans would have soon used the V-2s, the world's first medium-range ballistic missiles in operation. Okay, we'll talk about the B-26 bomber pilots of the U.S. Army Air Forces. Okay? This is what one pilot quote. The inability to knock out the sights was disheartening to the bomber pilots because, as DeLong put it, I had been in London many times when the V-1s were coming in and had experienced firsthand their explosions and results. I knew any we destroyed or put temporary action meant lives saved in England. So they wanted to save the lives of anybody, not just the rich people. That quote right there shows that. Okay, and these are quotes from the veterans, okay? And then Stephen Ambrose did the interviews, the research, just like Noam Chomsky has a PhD. Stephen Ambrose, when he was alive, God rest his soul, he passed away in 2002. Stephen Ambrose has PhD as well, okay? Now, I'm going to read a quote from a gentleman from France. He was a French participant in World War II. This is on page 487 of Citizen Soldiers, okay? In 1950, France was in ruins. I saw only a world marked by war, by destruction, by the shadow of war and fear. I believed that it was not finished, that there would be a next war. I did not think it would be possible to build a life, to have a family. Then came a group of young Americans, attractive, idealistic, optimistic, protected, believing and acting as though anything was possible. It was a transforming experience for me. That's okay. And then Ambrose also notes on page 486, GIs, another word for soldiers. GIs, talking about American GIs, meant candy, cigarettes, sea rations, and freedom. America had sent the best of her young men around the world, not to conquer but to liberate, not to terrorize but to help. This was a great moment in our history. And this was a book written by Stephen Ambrose, but this was a quote from one of the American soldiers that fought in World War II. And this is very moving stuff and can discredit how Chomsky tries to discredit the U.S. military. And I'm going to post the video on my Facebook page about Chomsky discrediting the U.S. military. And Chomsky has spoken at West Point to philosophy classes. West Point has invited him. It's Chomsky's First Amendment right to do this, but it's my First Amendment right as well, freedom of speech, to challenge it. Okay? And here's what Stephen Ambrose notes on page 485. Okay? And the same veteran that he interviewed was talking about this. He said, imagine this. In the spring of 1945, around the world, the sight of a 12-man squad of teenage boys armed and in uniform brought terror to people's hearts, whether if it was a Red Army squad in Berlin, Red Army's Soviet Army, Leipzig, or Warsaw, or a German squad in Holland, or a Japanese squad in Manila, Seoul, or Beijing. That squad meant rape, pillage, looting, wanton destruction, senseless killing. But there was an exception. A squad of GIs. GIs meant American soldiers. A sight that brought the biggest smiles you ever saw to people's lips and joy to their hearts. So those are quotes I'm reading from this book, Citizen Soldiers by Stephen Ambrose. There you guys go. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless. And God bless the U.S. military that protects us. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.